calzone is way more than just a folded pizza, and I'm going to show you how to make one of the best calzones you could ever make in the Blackstone Pizza Oven. The key is making your own ricotta cheese. Let's go get started. We're going to start by making our calzone dough because this has to sit for about 2 hours, if not more. So we're going to get started with that. Okay, so to help us work with this dough a little bit, because we need to divide it up, I'm going to put just the littlest bit of olive oil on my hands and on my work surface. So that way the dough is not going to stick to us or stick to our surface, and it gives us the ability to kind of work with it. Obviously, my work surface was cleaned first. So we're going to make it so that we can work with it here, and we're going to have make it into a nice little log, so that we can divide it into equal pieces. We're going to start by just cutting it in half. Okay, so there's half. Now we're going to take this half, we're going to divide it in half again. And then I'm going to take each of these little balls and divide them in half again. You should get roughly about 8 nice little dough balls out of this recipe. Okay, and so we're going to take our dough balls here, just kind of flatten them out, and we're just going to kind of see how elastic this is. That's exactly what we want. We're just going to kind of fold it over on itself, flip it over, and then with your hands on your oiled surface, just kind of work it into a ball, just like that. And we're going to add that dough ball to our lightly oiled tray. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of my dough balls. So we've got these tightly wrapped in plastic wrap. And so you can do a couple things with this. You can now leave them sit out just like this on the counter at room temperature, and in about 2 hours they should rise and be ready to go. Or if you are making these ahead of time, these can sit in the refrigerator just like this, where they will rise slowly. But you would need to do that probably overnight, the night before. So you need to allow yourself plenty of time. So while we're waiting for that dough to rise, I'm going to go ahead and make some fresh ricotta cheese, which is one of the main ingredients to go in our calzone. So we might as well use good ingredients. That stuff you buy from the store has like gum paste and stuff in it to kind of help gelatinize it and help it last longer on the shelf. And ricotta cheese is so easy and so fast to make that I'm just going to go ahead and make my own. So I'm going to bring you over here and show you just how to do it. It's really simple. So we start with just a half gallon of whole milk. Now I'm putting this into a cold pot because we want to heat this up really slowly so that we don't scorch the milk. So we've got a half gallon of whole milk here. And then I have about 200 grams of heavy whipping cream that I'm going to add to that. And then finally I'm going to add about 15 grams of kosher salt. We're going to add more salt to this later to increase the flavor, but for now 15 grams is all we need. And so I'm going to turn on the heat here, and I'm going to turn it on medium heat at the most, because like I said, we don't want to scorch it. And so this is going to take about 10 minutes to heat up, and we're going to be wanting to whisk this constantly throughout so that it doesn't scorch to the bottom of the pot, and we just want to keep an eye on it. and we're going to be checking the temperature. Our goal is to get it to about 190 degrees Fahrenheit in this pot. Okay, now that the milk has reached about 190 degrees, this is the perfect time for you to take it off the heat. Okay, so now it's 190 degrees and we've removed it from the heat. And so this is the perfect time to add your vinegar. So that's just white distilled vinegar. And we are just going to gently mix that in. We're not going to over mix it. We just want to get that vinegar all incorporated into the milk. And you should almost immediately start to see that milk start to break apart, which is what we want to see. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of mixed in there. So I'm now actually going to let this sit for about 15 minutes and let it continue to break, and then we'll come back and check on it. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes, and what you can see we have now is some very nice curds and whey. So you can see that yellowish clear liquid sitting there on top. That is your whey, and these white chunks that are all through here is your curds, which is going to end up being your ricotta. So now we're going to take this over and drain it. So let me show you my setup for that. So basically what I have here is a mixing bowl of any kind. It's got to be nice and large, big enough for you to put a decent sized colander inside. Okay, so you're going to use this as your draining system. I also have a cheesecloth here that I have unfolded and then refolded up over on itself twice, so I end up with like 4 layers of cheesecloth here. And I'm just going to set that right down inside my colander, and then we're going to very gently and slowly pour our curds and whey into this. We're just going to leave this sit and let the whey drain out. So this should take a few minutes, and we're going to give it about 5 minutes for that initial draining. Okay, so I've let this drain for a little bit. It's not done yet, but we've got quite a bit of whey built up on the bottom there, which is kind of slowing the draining down. So I'm going to just take this whole thing over to the sink, and we're going to dump this whey out that's in here down the sink, just to make some room for some more to drain. Okay, so I got a nice clean bowl underneath now, so we're going to let this continue to drain. We may have to drain it a couple more times depending on the size of your bowl, but this should in all take about 20 minutes of total time for it to totally drain out. Okay, so this has been draining for about 20 minutes, and now what you have here is this rich, creamy ricotta cheese right here, which we are going to take this and put it in a container and set it in the fridge to save until we need it later. And there you have it, fresh homemade ricotta cheese that's going to be perfect for our calzones. Okay, so it's been a couple hours since we made our calzone dough. So there's the dough. You can see it's about doubled in size on there. And so we're going to take this and actually make a calzone with our stuff. We're going to start by flouring the surface lightly. And then we're going to take one of our dough balls, just kind of put it there on the surface, kind of spread it out in that flour, put a little bit of flour on top just so it doesn't stick. We're just going to get our rolling pin here. We're going to roll it out flat. We're going to keep rotating it, turning it, rolling it out. The difference here between this and a pizza is a pizza, you have to be pretty concerned with the shape, and you have to make sure you leave a crust. And with this, it really doesn't matter. Maybe you actually don't want a crust on the outside, which will supply in just a little bit. Okay. So here we've got nice thin calzone rolled out. Make sure we're not sticking. Add a little more flour if needed. All right, so we're going to start with this homemade ricotta that we did earlier today. This stuff is just so much better than that store-bought stuff. And if you remember when I made this, I told you we were going to season it a little more later. Okay, so now's the time to do that. So I'm going to just use some large flaky salt here. You can just use regular salt if you want. Put some of that on there. We'll add a dash of pepper as well. And then we're going to do a few different kinds of cheese on top of this. So I want to add a couple slices of fresh moist mozzarella there. And then we're going to do some shredded dried mozzarella. You just buy this in a block at the store. Move that up on there. Do a little more. Cheese is always good. And then we're going to finish it off with some fresh grated Parmesan right there on top. So we've got a 4-cheese calzone here. And you, of course, could add meats and stuff to this as much as you want as well, but we're just going to stick with the cheese variety tonight. And then you just kind of wet your fingers. We're going to wet the outside here just a little bit. Don't need much. That's just enough to help it stick. Fold this over. Then we're going to kind of go around and press and seal the whole way around here. And then starting on one end, you just kind of fold up, tuck, and press. Don't worry about trying to be too pretty with this. This is mostly just trying to seal everything in so nothing leaks out when we throw it in the oven. There we go. Got our nice little calzone going there. And I'm just going to snip the top of it a couple times just to kind of let some steam out when we cook it. So I've got my pizza oven preheated out there. So I'm going to take this out on the pizza peel. We're going to flour the pizza peel just a little bit and take it out and then throw it in the pizza oven. It should only take about 5-10 minutes to actually cook. Pizza oven's nice and preheated here. So we've got our calzone on the pizza peel. With a little bit of flour, we're just going to launch it right into the middle, and we'll let that cook. All right, so there it is. There's nice, you can hear the crust on it. Okay, so let's cut into it. Oh, look at that cheese ooze out there. Oh, look at it. You see all that melted cheese in there? It's nice and gooey with that ricotta and everything. And I've got my nice homemade spaghetti sauce here that we can dip it in. All right. Mmm.